Welcome back to From Lansing with Love. I'm here with not just the CEO, the Chief Executive Officer, but my friend Jenenne Whitfield of the world famous Heidelberg Project. Welcome, Jenenne.
Thank you, Leslie. I'm happy to be
Thank you.
here.
The Heidelberg Project is a perfect example of the arts as a driver of economic development and social justice. In 1998, the Heidelberg Project was determined to be the third most visited cultural tourist site in Detroit, with more than 275,000 visitors coming from all over the world. One of the most recognizable living arts displays in the world had humble beginnings when artist and founder Tyree Guyton began cleaning up vacant lots. With the discharge refuse they found, they began decorating the vacant lots, introducing found object art to Detroit. Thus, in 1986, with his grandfather and mentor, the Heidelberg Project was born. Last year, the Heidelberg Project celebrated its 30th anniversary, and I was proud to sponsor and present to them on the House floor a special resolution marking December 2016 as Heidelberg Project Month in the state of Michigan. So again, thank you, Jenenne, and we're going to talk all about the Heidelberg Project, what you're doing, and the social justice impact here. The Heidelberg Project, I said in your intro, 30 years, and it has had quite the story.
Yes.
And I remember hearing your story of how you turned on Heidelberg Street and discovered it and got involved. So really quickly, let the viewers hear from you how when you turned on that street and you saw that, and now 30 years later, you're deep in it.
So 24 years of those years are my years. So I did turn down the street. You know, I was corporate America all the way. And I think a great testament to how the arts do change lives. And so, yes, I turned down that street, and a year later I gave up all corporate America and went to try and build a kind of a function and an administration under what Tyree Guyton had started. And that was 24 years ago. And so, yeah, we're celebrating 30 years, and I'm excited about what we've done and what we're continuing to do. So, you know, our vision here for Heidelberg is now, we call it a science. It's known as Heidelbergology. And the concept of using art and creativity to change lives and to bring, you know, attention to forgotten neighborhoods, but also to look at how we can level the playing field of, you know, some of these new changes that are happening in Detroit.
Yeah, well, many people are not aware of the social impact of the Heidelberg Project and how your work addresses issue of race, classism, social inequities that's prevalent.
Right.
Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, well, just as an example, just by virtue of what the Heidelberg Project is this jaw-dropping experience of this wild and crazy art. It attracted people from all over the world. You mentioned 275,000 people. And that's from 144 countries, Leslie. But even more importantly is the fact that Williams College performed an economic impact on the Heidelberg Project, and we contribute over $3.2 million to the Wayne County region alone.
Wow.
And that was in 2012, and with a fraction of our visitorship. So that's on one hand on a larger scale, but then let's think about the lives it is impacted on an individual basis. Children who've grown up in that area, in that community, one who lived on that street, who, you know, exposure to drugs and crime and petty theft, but just recently graduated from Michigan State University because he said that the Heidelberg Project taught him he had choices. So we can go from alpha to omega in terms of its impact in the community, and then more importantly is providing jobs. You know, on a small scale right now, but the way that we do it is that we employ people who are otherwise considered unemployable because it doesn't take much to sweep a street or to cut some grass, you know, but at the same time you're giving these people hope that, you know, someone does still care about them.
Right. I think people may get caught up in the sensationalism or the surprise of what was known as the Heidelberg Project and not realize what you're talking about, that it's impacting lives and making people realize that they have options. And I get into debates with folks who kind of don't understand the Heidelberg Project and what is that? What is this type of art? Is it really art? And I think it's very interesting and symbolic of of how people react to the Heidelberg Project and its location in being in Detroit. So sometimes you can go and see art and it's really pretty and neat and clean and it's in a nice frame with matting and it's like, oh, I can receive that. But Heidelberg is not anything that can fit in a frame. It is very much 3D living and sometimes misunderstood.
Yes.
And I think it's very symbolic of the people of the city of Detroit and even our story and how we've come full circle. So how is all of this, what do you think the effects of this community art has been on the city of Detroit?
Well, listen, look at the city of Detroit. Historically, we are a city of originators. We're a city of innovators. And so Tyree is just holding true to the history. Now, of course, people didn't understand it, but they didn't understand and appreciate Diego Rivera either. So we began to embrace that part of what we were doing as part of the process. So yeah, when I rolled down my window and turned on Heidelberg Street, I did say, what the hell is all this? and I wasn't so taken by the art, but what the messages behind the art was what just kind of really excited me. Tyree Guyton said that, look, if we pick up these things that have been discarded and thrown away and add color and add shape and give them new life, it's symbolic of giving new life to the community. Now that's profound to me. I thought that was deep. And then to also look at certain elements of the canvas, such as the shoes hanging from the trees, which was a recollection of his grandfather and lynching in the South. And his grandfather said that he could see the soles, and the bottom of our shoes are called soles. So these messages are what's contained within the art that looks unattractive or that may insult some people, but dig deeper, look deeper, and let's disturb the status quo a little bit and let's wake up the community, and he has done that.
Yeah, speaking of waking up the community, talk about Detroit and how it's changing and how Heidelberg may or may not be evolving and changing in the new Detroit that we're starting to see.
Oh, we're evolving and we're changing and we're going to be right there in the mix because, the idea of takeover or the idea of people coming into the community and pushing other people out. Well, my opinion or our thoughts on that is that if you're doing something, you cannot be pushed out. But you've got to stand up and you've got to do something. And then you also have to become vocal and speak the truth. Now, there's a big look right now at the 50th anniversary of the 67 resurgence is what I like to call it. And what I'm saying is that if we don't look at ways in which we can level the playing field, you better be careful. We might do that again because there are a lot of people who are looking for outlets, creative outlets. And so we've got to start shining the spotlight on people who are doing it, who are making a difference, and not just shine the spotlight on those who do drop in.
Right. Right. So you're the CEO, and Tyree is, I don't know, is he now the artist? So a two-part question. What is Tyree doing now, and what's your vision in this, what I hear, the Heidelberg 3.0?
Yeah, we skipped 102 and 201. We jumped from 101 to 3.0. First of all, Tyree is being called away all over the country. He's got 4 projects coming up. It's very exciting because what he started in Detroit, Philadelphia is saying, can you bring that concept here now? He's got a show coming up at the Museum of Cleveland, Contemporary Museum of Cleveland, and then a show coming up in Alabama. So it's time for Tyree to now focus more on his career as an artist. And he spent 30 years of his life and gave 30 years of his life to the city of Detroit. And now we think he's deserving of doing some other things. And so he's handed the baton over to a woman.
Yes.
And then I recently recruited 4 more women on the board, and we have a plan. And you have to stay tuned.
That's excellent, and I love it. I'm one of the executive board members of the Michigan Progressive Women's Caucus, so I'm glad to hear not only that you are leading this organization, but you've also hired other women. And when we talk about economic impact, we are also talking about jobs, and you are hiring. You actually have a staff, so you're employing people, and they're women, and we really love that. Let me ask you this about Tyree, or any artist in particular. Are artists ever appreciated at home?
I don't think that they are, but I'll tell you this. To me, they should be valued like you value doctors or you value attorneys, because a lot of times what artists do is they provide food for the soul. and they can be a medicine man and help us emotionally. And Tyree always says, you know, without art and creativity, the imagination goes dull, and you focus mechanically, and we don't want that. We want the imagination because we're going to continue to innovate and continue inspiring young people to do the same thing.
Yeah. Is the Heidelberg Project medicine?
Oh,
for the soul?
absolutely, absolutely. I mean, that's one of our definitions of Heidelbergology, is that art is or can be like a medicine. And today, art can no longer afford to be art for just art's sake. Now, this is just my opinion.
Yes, this is very controversial.
Yeah,
Yes, go
yeah,
into this.
not art for art's sake, but art that is seeking to heal communities, art that is seeking to open up the imagination, art that is seeking to bring people together and building bridges. And we've been doing that for 30 years. I mean, how could I not love that? And I'm still excited about it.
Tell us some ways that the Heidelberg has done that. How has it opened up communities or brought people together? And
Well, one way, and then Tyree's always talking about how it's going to take all people. It's not all that popular for an African American man to say we've got to open our arms and embrace all people. But that's exactly the kind of conversation we need to be having. And then we all are sitting at the table as equal players, not where all of a sudden someone's privilege makes you feel like you're less than. So this is the ways in which we're trying to start and rebuild a new community. And that is just a taste of what Heidelberg 3.0 is like. So we've got new players, diverse players, art, equity, and creativity.
all right, we're going to have a couple more questions for you, and we're going to wrap up this segment. Talk about what kind of effects art can have on the city of Detroit, and I'm not talking about our larger arts organizations. I want to specifically really dive into what I think is a neglected sector of our arts community, particularly in Detroit, because we have so many brilliant, creative, artistic people. The George Nanamdis, the Arts League of Michigan, the Plowshares Theater. Flint has a theater program there. But African Americans who are doing theater, small, but you all have survived horrible economic times, and you're still chugging along. So what can you talk about the effects of arts in the community and what it could have in the city of Detroit if we embraced our homegrown artists?
Well, you know what? Let me just say this. Right now, there are statistics that prove that it is the smaller and mid-sized grassroots arts organizations that contribute more to the economy than our larger institutions. And yet we have a fraction of the income, or I should say, or the revenue that we need to continue boosting our vision forward. When I look at Detroit right now, and I think about how we're coming down off of 100 years of industry, and I see how we've got all of these little, I won't say little, but efforts incubating all over the city. Now it looks chaotic, but the truth is that this is how the innovation starts, where you have all of these little efforts sprouting up all over the place. And not very many people are paying attention to them yet, but they will. Just like Heidelberg has a huge presence, but I have a staff of only 7 people, right? But what we've been able to do in connecting with other organizations and like I said, connecting the dots. So we have to do this on our own right now because attention is never really paid to the small efforts, but it is the small efforts. Look, Phil Cooley from Slows decided to open Slows Restaurant because he saw the creativity of the Heidelberg Project. Now I'm saying that publicly because he said it. So when you think about people coming to the Heidelberg Project, for example, looking at what one man could do with found and recycled materials, and the concept is, my goodness, if he can do this, what can I do?
Right.
We're coming back to the small businesses. That's what we're starting to see happen in Detroit. And it's chaotic right now, but just keep doing it. That's what we're doing. That's our motto.
Do you feel like this new Detroit and all the boom that's happening downtown, midtown, do you feel a part of that? Do you think the small arts organizations feel included in that?
Probably don't. A lot of them don't feel included. And I'm sure that is the case. But I think that, I have to be honest, it's a state of mind. See, it's like, who's telling you you're not included? You are included, and you just have to keep staying focused and keep doing your work. And then, you know, the chatter all around about what people talk about, that's, to me, is based on fear. And I'm saying that just do your work. Stay in your work. Stay true to what is important to you, and it'll all come together. It'll come together just the way it's supposed to.
Yeah. It's almost like you're saying, just do you.
Yes, exactly.
And it
stop.
will naturally, you will attract everything that's positive and good that's supposed to come to that.
And don't
so you don't have to
energize.
chase
Right.
the dog's
Right.
tail.
Don't
just
chase.
be your own dog.
That's right. I mean, that's really it. That's a beautiful analogy, actually. You know, stay focused, stay positive to the extent that you can, understanding that you do need a little bit of negativity sometimes to keep you moving. But for the most part, stay positive and stay in your work, and it'll unfold.
All right. Is there anything else you want to share about what's coming up with you or the Heidelberg Project?
Well, I will just say that, you know, we recently moved, so we've moved into a temporary space. We're now in West Village, a little bit closer to the Heidelberg Project. Our goal is to get on that street and to really have a brick and mortar investment in that community, and we're doing that in one of two ways. First of all, thanks to the Michigan Council of Arts and Cultural Affairs, we're working on our numbers house. So we're going to have a new kind of a little mini headquarters. But more importantly is that we're looking at actually purchasing real estate in the Heidelberg community to make our presence even more felt. Wow. And this is as a result, Leslie, of staying focused and staying in the work and not listening to all the chatter about this is happening, that's happening. Then how can you do your work?
All right. This is good that you brought up the council, Michigan Council of Arts and Cultural Affairs. What's your relationship with the council? How have you all worked together over the years?
I have to say that, to be perfectly honest with you, first of all, I think that they have a very fluid process. I like it. It's a very democratic process in terms of judging. And also, I just feel that, you know, my gosh, you know, to be able to have support and to distribute it to so many different, you know, regions in Michigan, that's equity. And that's what we're talking about. And that's what some of the other philanthropic organizations need to learn, how to be more equitable.
Well, you're giving us a lot of good stuff here, and you might have to repeat yourself or say it in a different way, but tell the viewers, whether you're an artist, you can speak to the artists and you can speak to the arts organizations. What advice would you give them?
In reference to
surviving and just being in this space, in this time right now.
Yeah, well, we're in a tough time. And we are in a time where the status quo is no more. We can no longer afford to be comfortable. But see, we haven't been comfortable in the Heidelberg Project for 30 years. We've dodged bulldozers. We've had 12 fires. And so now we've become kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? We do that well. We manage that very well. And I think now that's a forerunner to the level of discomfort that other people are going to start to experience because the world is changing. So what does that mean? What am I actually saying? I'm saying that we've got to start changing our minds, that the real power of what we need to do and accomplish lies in each and every individual and not so much in groups and not so much in chatter. You'll hear me say that all the time. And that's the survival rate. That's what we have done to keep moving forward with the Heidelberg Project.
Yeah, I think also the Heidelberg Project is larger than maybe the average Detroiter may know.
Oh my gosh.
You have a fingerprint internationally. Can you just tell us, where has Tyree and the Heidelberg Project been in the world?
5 continents. The only place we have not been is the Antarctica and Africa. And we're going to Africa in 2018. And when I talk about 5 continents, I'm talking all the way from, you know, Shenzhen, China, to Australia, to Bolzano, Italy. We have literally been to about 35 different countries with this art and with this vision. And people have heard it around the world. And see, this is why I say this is what makes Detroit great. We may not know it, but we're making history.
You are. You're doing amazing work.
Thank you.
And you're doing such a great job, and I think...
And I like it.
It is, and you like it. That's what matters, right?
I do like it.
To love what you do.
Right.
Do you make money in the arts?
It's hard.
Yeah, because when I used to do my stand-up or whatever, the kids always go, how much money do you make? Because they see the television, the actors, and all the fabulous life and limousines. What's the real life of an artist?
Well, it's not that. I can tell you that. But I'll tell you this, too. I'm telling you that I make a strong case for supporting artists. I believe in it. But I think sometimes you have to be willing to walk away from something. You know, it's hard when you're hungry. But you have to be willing sometimes to walk away to maintain a certain integrity that says, I have value and I have worth. And you may not pay for it, but you'll continue to see that, and maybe you will eventually catch on. So if you can do that, if you can, try and maintain an integrity about your work, I think we'll see a shift in the change of the way people value artists. But you have to do that.
Yeah.
And every artist doesn't have like I said, I'm sometimes called a Jenenne. But I will say that, it is very difficult. Neither should artists try and market themselves. I don't agree with that. I think they should stay in their work. And if they do good work, someone will come along that will start to help them with what it is they're trying to accomplish. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you practice what you preach. I
do.
noticed your necklace is very pretty. Is that an artist piece?
It is. It is. I buy work and support artists locally all the time. So is my ring, handmade by an artist. And yeah, I believe in that. I certainly do. And then I don't need a lot of things. I'm more interested in how we can inspire people to do, I think, stronger work and more important work in the city in these times. I emphasize in these times that we're living in, with this government that we're living with,
Right.
we have to empower people now.
Yeah, in the former segment, I was saying how I think the artists will have a dynamic body of work because of the times that we're in right now. So more poets and artists and comedians, Mr. Bracy, will come up. The jokes will be really great on and as we've seen in SNL. But I think also our art exhibits and our dance pieces and the songs that will be written in this time will really be very provocative and also touching and world changing, mind shifting.
Yep. And it's an exciting time. I would encourage people, don't be afraid, but stand up, open your mouth. You cannot afford to be comfortable anymore.
Very powerful words. So my last question for you, what do people not know about the Heidelberg Project?
Oh my
pretty cool.
gosh. Well, I would say that there's so many things, but I would just have to go back to the kids. I have to go back to the children. That we get letters from schools all over the country of teachers who are teaching children about the Heidelberg Project. And mostly they're teaching about tenacity. They're teaching about determination. They're teaching about focus. And they're using arts as the catalyst. I think that's powerful.
That is powerful.
It is. I mean, that they're teaching children what it means to take a stand for something you believe in. And also, as Margaret Mead says, a lot of times it's only one person that changes the world.
Well, you and the Heidelberg Project and Tyree Guyton are changing that section of Detroit, and it's in all 5 continents where you have touched down and touched as well. And it's really, I'm particularly glad to have you on the show. There are many other arts organizations in the city of Detroit and the state of Michigan. And I think to celebrate particularly African-American artists, all artists, but African-American artists in particular in this case, and artists from the city of Detroit.
Right.
And your journey has not been easy.
No.
And people will often, give up. Most people would have given up. If your buildings catch on fire, you have people talking smack about you. It's like, what is this? This isn't art. This is trash on a house. Get it out of here. And yet you've persevered through 30 years. And you're recognized and honored and respected internationally, but most importantly, even last year, this state recognized the Heidelberg's project value to the arts and cultural landscape of the state of Michigan and giving you your own month in December. So that's pretty huge.
But I have to say that one kind of floored us. I mean, Tyree actually hand was shaking when I shared that news with him, because I think it is hard when you've been given so much of your time and energy to your city and to get so many knocks like he has. So to get that kind of recognition after 30 years was breathtaking.
Yeah.
And we're very thankful.
Well, it was my honor and pleasure as a fellow artist, and any young person or not so young person out there who is an artist or budding artist. That's something that I always meet people who are doctors or attorneys who said, I always wanted to be a singer. Or I'm a musician, and I don't really get to express that. But I think it's the yin and yang and having that balance. And it's necessary in ourselves just as it is in our society. And so what I hope that people will get from this show, you've heard from John Bracy and Jenenne Whitfield, about just what the Michigan Council for Arts and Cultural Affairs, how they try to help support arts organizations, but also from an arts organization who has survived some of the most difficult times, and not only survived, but thrived and is still building and being relevant, which is always important to stay relevant in this conversation. And this, I've said 3 questions ago, this is my last question. And this is my last question. We got to wrap up this program. In terms of being relevant and staying relevant, how do you do that and right now?
Well, you know how people talk about sustainability, and they ask this on grant applications. How will you sustain? How will you sustain? And then you see how you can have a catastrophic event come through and blow your thing away in just a matter of minutes. The real sustainability is within. And I have to say that. It is not without. We are not looking at how we preserve things and buildings as much as we're looking at how we're preserving the human spirit. And so when you knock down a building, guess what? We can build another one. When you knock down the art, that's where we're coming from. Yeah. And I think that this is what we're trying to look at. How do we preserve the human spirit? And how do we sustain? So that's where the stability comes from within.
And that's why people love the arts. And if you don't, you need to visit. You got to get that incorporated into your life. Thank you so much, Jenenne. That's about all the time we have today. I'd like to once again thank my guest, John Bracey of the Michigan Council of Arts and Cultural Affairs, and my lovely, beautiful, wonderful, intelligent friend, Jenenne Whitfield of the Heidelberg Project, for joining us. And thanks to all of you for watching. If you have an idea for a show or would like to be a guest on the show, please contact my office, and that contact information will appear on the screen. Until next time, be good to yourself and each other. And with that, we're all clear and out of here.